Hey everyone. So in this game, it is a rematch with the National Master Troy Kavanagh. So he is incredibly strong, and it has been a month since we faced. So in our last encounter, I'll put the video up here. He and I faced off for the #1 spot in the tournament in a game that was at board one, and it was this really intense game. Same colors, even same opening, and I managed to get the better of him. In fact, in the open section, he went 6 wins and 1 loss, and that only loss was to me. So I had proven to be, the antidote to him before, and in this game, I would prove again that I am the only one who can slow him down. Because at this point, I've already lost my spot at qualifying. I'm 0 out of 2, but he's 2 out of 2, so I can slow him down. I'm like, there's no pressure for me, so let's just deal as much damage, make it as hard for him to win as possible. So this is also a really nice example of the Taimanov Sicilian, which I am considering making a tutorial on sometime. But anyways, he goes e4, just like in our first encounter. So I go c5. This is the Sicilian, and pretty much we get the Taimanov. So in the last game against me, he played c4, which is known as the Maroczy bind, which pretty much attempts to get like a hold, a clamp on the center, and it makes the game a bit more slow and positional in nature versus like the more energetic game that this would turn into. So instead, he goes knight c3, and I'm like, okay, he's done his homework. He's preparing a new variation. So I go queen c7. This is known as the Bastrikov. This looks kind of weird, developing like this, then move my queen 1 square. And you may be like, oh, can't the queen be attacked? Oh, it 100% can be. And then it goes to here. The point of this move is to control these squares to defend the knight, and then pretty much just to get like this really nice square where it's already aimed at the king if he chooses to go with the Sicilian setup where he castles long. Bishop e3. Now I go a6. Point of a6 is, just control this square. He goes queen f3. This is one of the main lines. Now I go knight e5, which attacks it. The queen moves. And here I actually messed up the move order. Um, Here it's pretty critical to go b5, and I was just kind of lazy. And then it goes b5, and then usually long castles, and then here and we transpose. But the difference is, which I played, which is less accurate, is I went knight f6. And while this will look very similar to the position we got, the difference is that after f4, knight here, and if the bishop were to go back, my pawn isn't on b5, and I have to respond to h3 with b4 for this whole idea to work. Um, so that's just a move order difference, but he thought for a bit and then long castled, and now we just transpose. So b5, and we're back in theory. f4, knight here, bishop back, and now I go h5. So again, the difference is that this position may look very similar to the one we were just looking at. However, my pawn is now on b5. So it is on b5 so that after he plays bishop d3, which is the best move, it develops, and in theory, I can now just push my pawn. I can push my pawn forward, and if instead he had gone h3, I would still respond with b4, and now after here, I can actually just take this pawn. That's why I went h5, is that he can't take this knight when this knight moves. Just lots of stuff that I'd love to explain, but there's a lot more of the game to cover. So, maybe I'll explain this all more in depth um, in a tutorial on the Taimanov. But anyways, bishop d3, b4, and now he goes to a5. This is pretty normal, but I generally don't think that these systems are as good for white. Just because this knight has a high chance of becoming kind of silly over on the side of the board. So I was like, okay, we'll develop bishop b7. We hit move 13. I'm pretty much out of prep. Well, I haven't seen this exact position before until the game, at least in an actual game. I know the ideas, and this looks like what I've studied. This is like pretty much ideal Taimanov. We've managed to go, a6, b5, put my bishop here. We're in no rush to castle because the king's very safe. So he goes h3. And I calculate for a bit and I realize that, okay, no matter what, I'm going to have to move back to h6 with my knight. But I was trying to decide, okay, if I go h4 first to kick the queen somewhere, is that a better variation? And I eventually figured that yes, because after h4, he can only move into the line of fire of my bishop. Now, obviously, he can't go here, here, here because of this knight. So it leaves two squares, queen f3 or queen e1. And queen e1, this is just a really stupid move because, uh-oh, you dropped the pawn. So by going h4, I kind of force the queen to hop into a line of fire of some potential danger. And now I go back to h6. And by move 16 here, I was feeling happy with my game. I'm like, okay, we're in a theoretical battle that I understand quite well because it's a Taimanov. Against 2100 national master, this is kind of what you want. A position that you know well. So he moves back, and this was, I think, his big inaccuracy of the game, because one rule from there's this grandmaster on YouTube that I watch a lot of videos of, where he always says, if you have a good piece in the center, why are you just moving it away with no fight? Like, it's not, why are you just moving it back? Um, Now, obviously, his idea is to drop it, is for his bishop to be activated and for him to jump in somewhere. But the problem with this move is that, it's just kind of slow, and so now I can play d5. And I was considering a few other moves here, um, which was bishop c6 to put pressure on the knight to kind of go into a forced variation where the knight has to move, or the bishop goes here and I had to calculate those lines, or I could just develop, but then my problem after developing was that he can probably just drop in a knight. So I go d5 to strike at the center, pretty thematic, and now I'm immediately threatening to go here. And my point is that while I don't stop this per se, I can now go here, and I'm simultaneously threatening the knight and threatening a fork here. So this is just not good. And then it also stops knight here because then I can just take, and I can get two pieces for the rook. So I was quite happy. With this move d5, this is like a position I wanted. And so he responds to e5, and the computer says that my only way forward was knight e4. And it looks really nice, like it's a strong knight in the center, and frankly, the only reason I didn't go for it was because I thought that after I went knight d7, I was really smart. I'm like, oh, I'm a genius. Now this knight really is trapped, because now the knight can't escape anywhere, and I'm threatening to just win the knight. And I'm like, I'm so smart, and there really isn't much he can do. So he finds this really nice move, knight d4, which more or less frees up the fact that now you can go b3 and escape with the knight. So I attack the knight. That is pretty much trapped. We get takes, and now b3. And then here I go bishop c5. So this was not good. This is a good position, and probably the best way to handle it would be to go g6, solidify my light squares to fight against his light squared bishop, plop a knight here, plop a rook here so that I can attack the king. Because again, I gave up my light squared bishop here. I voluntarily gave up my bishop pair. This is an advantage, having the bishop pair. So I give him the bishop pair, which he now has, which means he can control huge swaths of the board at once. They're very powerful. And since I've given this up, I should put all my pawns on light squares so that this bishop cannot infiltrate. It's just that idea. So after b3, then rook c8, this is just the only place the rook is going to go. Develops it. But I just tried trading because I'm like, okay, my dark squares are weak, so let's trade everything off. So he goes g4, gaining space. Passant, queen takes, and now g6. And I was thinking, okay, I have a solid position here. He doesn't really have any entry. These pawns are kind of controlling everything, and this is probably just a draw. So he goes h4, which makes a lot of sense. He's trying to create some kind of weakness. And now I find this move knight f5, and this actually comes with a lot of really crazy ideas. But pretty much after he took, I actually take with a G pawn, and I voluntarily give a passed pawn. But the point is that the passed pawn can never actually promote. And my pawns are so solid that this actually becomes a weakness. If I can castle, double my rooks and just attack the pawn, it's a weakness. It can't be guarded by other pawns. So he pushes it forward a little bit. Um, and now I go rook c8 with the point to just put a bunch of pressure here. And here I actually saw that there's this kind of crazy idea. I'm gonna show you guys this. But I was thinking in my head, okay. Well, here this just blunders checkmate. So it's right here previously, but I'm thinking, okay, what if he goes queen g7? This move makes a lot of sense, right? You're attacking the rook, and I'm like, shit, I might have to move it here. Might have to move it here, and I'm sitting there, and then I'm like, wait a minute. I have this absurd idea here, which he didn't see, but I did, where I can just go bishop g1, and I can just give up my rook. And the idea is that after the queen takes, the king moves up and the queen is under attack. The queen's under attack because of my rook. He can't go here. So it doesn't really matter where the queen goes. The queen goes somewhere and just boop. My bishop comes back. The king goes here. And now I just have a way better position. I've given up an exchange, but all of his dark squares are just busted. This knight's bad. This rook's on a great square. No rook can contest it because his bishop controls it. And I saw all this and I'm like, oh my god, I'm so smart. But he never went there. He just pushed. Fine, we're not gonna have fun. Rook c8, and now everything gets traded. He goes rook d2, which guards the checkmate threat, and I offer a queen trade. Just trying to get into a drawn endgame. We get takes, rook takes, and he goes here. He attacks my pawn. I defend it. And now he goes king d2. So what I do is I go rook g3. Now here, the computer gives this crazy idea, which is on move 31 of the game. I can castle. And now my king can stop this. My rook can come over. But I just forgot I could still castle. Like, I just assumed that because it took 31 moves and I never castled, I could do it. And it was like, what the hell? Um, so I just control. I control the file, and I just get a more active rook. He tries and stops me from any checks, and here's probably my final chance to win the game, which is if I do castle. But I just doubled up. He pushes, I took, and he goes here, creating weaknesses. But I figured that after takes, king here, there's a perpetual. So we repeat moves one time, and now he steps forward. And the problem here is trying to figure out, is it a draw in your head? Like, look here and go, okay, do you see how black makes a draw? No matter what, we can't save our pawns, which will give him a pass pawn. But he can't save his pawn. But eventually I figured, okay, if I go rook h3, we get takes, I can just attack this pawn. He can never guard it. Now he can check me as much as he wants, and I'm just gonna stay here. This pawn can never really promote because my king is in time. And he can't defend this pawn because then I just keep checking him. So like he moves up, we go check, and now I just attack the pawn. If he guards it, he probably just loses time. Then I can just bring my king. So there's no way forward. So after this sequence, after we reach this position, we agree to a draw. Yeah, it was a good game. I mean, I got the half point. I ended day one on not too horrible of a note, and in fact, in this tournament, he won. So spoiler alert, but Troy managed to win the whole tournament, and he had 4 wins. He beat everyone and 1 draw. I was the only one to stop him for the second time in a row. And you know what? I may have lost the first 2, but this gave me such a big ego boost that, like, if I'm not playing stupid, if I'm not getting out prepped, I belong here. Um, But now, day two is where the fun begins because in these next two rounds, I'm up against the two weakest people in the tournament. Let's just say, imagine a watermelon getting run over by a tank. Yeah, see ya.